There's a new study out showing that oral Apigenin prevents obesity-related muscular atrophy, which is shrinking, but not obesity itself. So what they did is they fed these rats a high-calorie diet. On Apigenin, they actually preserved or gained muscle mass. Off of Apigenin, that wasn't apparent, but it didn't stave off fat gain. So no big surprise there. Decent study to take a look over, links in the description. But we have older studies showing that Apigenin also does, similar things. Apigenin increases muscle mass, da-da-da-da-da. And this is from 4 years ago. This is not the study, but this is a review of it. And great channel, by the way, Conquer Aging or Die Trying. He does the dose conversion the same way that I do. And what he found was they need 1.2 grams of Apigenin a day for humans to equal the same doses for the animals in the study. And I found that it was pretty close to that when we convert the doses on this study as well. Now, why are we doing this? What is the secret sauce here? So Apigenin itself actually contributes to the myogenic process, much the same way as other growth factors and epicatechin and vitamin C and glycogen and all these other things contribute to that. So when the conditions are right, our body will actually bring muscle stem cells online, grow them, differentiate, proliferate, and form new muscle tissue. So that's what we're going for here. And that's kind of the thrust of my channel, is exploring this pathway for the most part. So yes, it does do this in testing in live animals. Now, what's the problem? That Apigenin itself has been on the market for a long time, and it's claimed that it has poor oral bioavailability. In this, they're mentioning that it has around 30%. No. When you look at the water solubility of Apigenin itself, it's actually very similar, in fact, worse than the water solubility of ecdysterone. And all of these plant-derived, when they're deriving these flavonols and these sterols and these sterones and things, they tend to be very, very poorly absorbed and sometimes not even the most stable. Apigenin actually has some of the worst of both worlds in that way. If you find it in nature, it's in a form that's called glycosylated, which means that it's bonded with a sugar. That adds to the water solubility, and that adds to the digestibility quite a bit, I would imagine. Once that is cleaved and it's pure Apigenin, the molecule is actually less stable and even less water soluble. Now, here's the twist. We're probably on this AI, that's oral, yeah. They're probably looking at a glycosylated Apigenin and saying maybe around 30% for that. I still think that's way high, because once that, like I said, once that's cleaved in the digestive system, then Apigenin itself is actually even less water soluble, and it gets diverted into other forms very quickly and very easily in the gut. If you go to buy Apigenin powder and it's 98% pure, and there's an assay and all this to show that, where's the glycolated form? Is that the other 2% or 1.5% that's left likely? That's going to be bonded. And no. It would show up as less than 98% pure. It would show up at like 52 or 56% pure. And the rest of it would be the glycosylation, the sugar molecule that would be attached to it. So when you're getting pure unglycosylated Apigenin that's distilled down to a true 98% or so, you're not getting that much more digestible form. Now, it is possible to complex Apigenin in beta-cyclodextrin or hydroxypropyl beta-cyclodextrin like I do with ecdysterone. In fact, I have some special epicatechin and ecdysterone brewing right now, because what that does is when you encapsulate the target product in the hydroxypropyl beta-cyclodextrin, it will allow it to have the water solubility properties of what's encapsulating it, not what's inside the encapsulation. So it increases the water solubility by many, many fold when you do that. So people do this with Apigenin, but it's rare on the supplement market. Here's a study showing that it can be done successfully and that it increases the water solubility and digestibility. However, that's only one half of the problem. With things that affect the myogenic pathway, the IGF-1 growth pathway, let's say the new muscle tissues, muscle stem cells, we need constant release. We need constant contact with that substance to extract the maximum benefits out of it. We find this with IGF-1. If you just have standard IGF-1, it's too fragile and doesn't last long enough. But when it's put in sort of a gel form and Increlex, it lasts for 6 hours instead of half an hour. Then it becomes more effective. This is the same thing with oxytocin. It has IGF-1 Increlex-like effects when you slow it down enough and there's enough constant contact in the body. Apigenin in its raw form only has about a 2.5-hour half-life, as we can see here in this study. And think about it like this. If you were taking a hardcore anabolic, run, you're not going to be using just orals. You're going to be relying on your base of a long-acting, injection to get you through. So how will I fix Apigenin? The plan is simple. It's the same as what I do with ecdysterone and other substances. It will be complexed first in hydroxypropyl beta-cyclodextrin to make it more water soluble so that you can get a higher concentration in a smaller amount for an injection. And do we really need 1.2 grams per day in the system? No, absolutely not. The actual oral bioavailability of this is likely less than 1%. Most of these plant substances, berberine, genistein, ecdysterone, other flavanols, they're usually around 1% on their own, 3% if they're complexed, not 30%. So I'm not buying that for a second. What I'm coming up with based on the little bit of guesswork that I can do here and seeing a pattern across various substances is we're looking at more like 5 to 10 milligrams in the bloodstream, released constantly all day long, should give us the effect similar to what we get with epicatechin when we do the same thing. And likely what I'll do is mix the two of them together, have the epicatechin as more of a myostatin inhibition and the other as a myogenic and agonist, So pushing one way and kind of pulling back on the other way. They're both great natural products, great for clearing brain fog, focus, as antioxidants, and have tons and tons of other benefits. So I think I'll put together a 10 milligram per milliliter and 10 milligram per milliliter of epicatechin and Apigenin, give it a run this next growth period. So I'll keep you guys posted, but that's how I plan to fix Apigenin, another supplement that should be doing good things, but never really has.